All right, so we'll walk you through this and let you know where we are and what I think our next step should be. So everybody is very familiar with the site of this. This is, again, we wait a long time to get surveys, but this is your topographical survey with all the improvements. And because the edges have probably moved yet a little bit more, but this is the standard map that we're basing all of the the work to be done on the Upland project moving forward. And I think you have all the improvements there, and that is the full property line for the Port Jeff Country Club campus. I zoomed in a little bit. It's going to be really hard to see, but there'll be another drawing. You see this green line is where they're proposing to put the Upland wall in. And but I wanted to keep this color one because everything else isn't going to be coming out in black and white. But you can see how we've lost a lot of stuff here. So I think may have seen this before. This is the proposed wall. Our building is here. Oh, great. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Well, the engineer's daughter tested positive for COVID, so the engineer won't be here today. Okay. So here's the Upland wall. Here's courts 5 and 6. You see the impacts there, and of course here's 1 through 4. I wanted to show this in relation to the toe wall we'll be talking about, all right, and then how that lines up in relation. This is a document that shows you about the fencing. So the blue line here is the existing fencing. Obviously the existing fencing will be coming down. The pink line becomes, I think, just for work where they are looking to put a temporary work fence, to keep anything happening back here away from the construction zones. So you can see clearly how we needed to have access to both sides to get to approach the wall. And then there's some other safety things that you can't really see. It's too kind of small. This is interesting. This is a cross section. Here's your bluff, sloping the topo. Here's your bottom toe wall. This is the proposed Upland wall. It will be 47 feet deep, and the tiebacks come on the other side. They approach from the landward side with the machinery, bang the wall in, and then they pin the tiebacks from the other side. It's an interesting map because this, I think, is the end of the country club building. So again, the approach, I'm just going to go back up to this other map. The approach is to start the wall in and keep coming around so that they are stabilizing the earth as they get closer and closer to the back of the building. But this tells you a lot right here, this line. Again, here's the wall. Here's the tieback system. Engineering of the tiebacks, all, geeky engineering kind of stuff. Really cool. The top of the wall, okay, so this is if I'm up looking down at the top of the wall, it's going to have a timber cap. Instead of concrete like we have down at East Beach, we're going to put timber, make it so that it's, safer, it's less expensive. It has a little bit of a decorative look to it, but they recommended timber. We had no problem with that recommendation. Now we get into a very extensive landscape plan where you'll have a lot of detail. There's individual drawings here, or sets of plans. Again, there's going to be a safety fence on the top installed behind the wall, but it'll come up higher than the cap itself. There's extensive seating Erosion control, seeding and vegetation behind, but most of the planting is coming in front of the wall. So this is the westerly side. Did I skip a slide? Hold on a second. No, I didn't. And these are going to give you the types of plantings. This is now the east side. Again, all planted in here, all native vegetative, beautiful stuff, decorative and hardy. The schedule and the quantity of plantings are in the plans. Feel free to, review them, take them home. They're all native grasses and hardy stuff that grows down at beaches. Like, here's a good picture of some of the stuff: wild indigo, runny serviceberry, pink mulhay grass, fragments, sumac, inkberry, butterfly weed, beach rose. Nice stuff.
Deer
Blue chip
resistant?
juniper. Huh?
Deer resistant?
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Deer resistant.
Yeah. I don't know. Rebecca might be able to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best shot you're going to get at deer resistant.
Yeah, it's kind of gnarly stuff, but it's decorative and hardy. So we told them we want, and when this is installed with all that vegetation, you're not going to need any more drainage because that wall will become the stopgap, and the vegetation will soak everything up and just keep it intact. I made this line here, and anything west of this portion of wall, and when I propose that when we go out to bid, this section of wall become an add-on. Because it's really this U-shaped section that is what needs to be installed to preserve the building. This add-on obviously is going to help us preserve anything else that is built over here, which I'll get to in a minute. But we'll be able to determine at unit pricing what that cost will look like, and kind of approach possibly the project in steps. This is the proposed tennis court pickleball campus, based on one of Stan's handwritten envelope designs. We wanted to get 2 regulation tennis courts. If you remember, we were looking at 1 regulation and a training junior court here. If we extend the fencing out, we can get a 2nd regulation court. Here's your country club building, your tennis pro shops underneath, so they'll be able to still use the path to come back here. This is 3 pickleball courts and a stadium area with built-in sitting. Give you a better look at that. You zoom in, got nice screening here, fencing. You have a walkway here, and you can access these tiered sitting areas, which I thought came out really nice. If you look at, whoops,
Are those tables?
Cross section. Hold on a second.
Proposed.
I skipped a slide. These are like tiered into the hill. So this is a low point, and it kind of grades up to the parking lot. So it gives you a natural kind of stadium style seating area to oversee the pickleball and the tennis courts and the view.
Will that be covered or not, like sort of a pavilion cover, or?
Right now it's open air.
I'm just saying for residents who otherwise wouldn't be using the sport campus, if there was a sort of cliffside picnic area, could be a nice public amenity.
Yeah, I mean, when we put that shade pavilion at Rocket Park, we almost had a fist fight over it. Right?
Why? I don't remember that.
Because people didn't want to spend whatever it was to put the shade pavilion up, and the shade pavilion has become like a huge.
Yeah.
So I like that concept. We can visit that. So that's your
Like an
the
arbor.
pickleball and tennis campus. So that I think we had consensus. I think we have consensus on this. Try and bring back racket sports, right?
Can you point out the wall? Is it that line? Wait.
So here's the wall.
Yeah, no, it's in relation to the new.
It's
yeah.
not here.
It'll probably be like right about in here.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So it's still, let me just see if that's a good question, Kathy Ann, because I think we're like 50 feet away from the bluff, and then we're another like 30 feet away from any of the fencing.
So, but I guess my ultimate question is then, would it be the add-on that would protect this new campus? Got it.
Yeah, well, if we don't do the add-on, there's still a way to put in drainage in here
Okay.
to protect it, but it won't be anywhere near as hardy as the wall.
Got it.
I mean. So, Joe, Holtzmacher, were they putting something together for the side?
In terms of drainage?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, but
Like,
they
don't
could,
we-
right? I
They
mean-
could, they could, yes.
All right, so let's just
Because they
pause.
were going based off of the pickleball and the new tennis complex.
Yeah.
And the discussion was, if that is built, they would design something that would run back towards the pools that exist in the parking lot.
Back here.
Yes.
Okay.
And the
So you can see
pickle-
them there. There's 4, right in that corner. Yep.
Right here?
here.
1, 2.
There's 4.
And the
Oh, I
pickleball
see.
I
courts,
see. Yeah.
is all of that area already cleared, or there would be more clearing and regrading for that area?
It's
pretty much all.
It's pretty
Yeah.
much all clear.
They might have to move some of the earth around just to get it,
Right.
level but it's 90% of the work was already
Well,
done.
I remember looking at that, going and seeing and being concerned that if there was any further clearing, there's sort of a natural washout ravine that's already there. And so I was concerned about going any further west.
Yeah, that ravine is back behind the tennis court right there.
Right here.
Right,
she's-
yeah, I'm just seeing topography under sort of the left side of the tennis court and the pickleball court, so I just didn't know if that was,
But there would be more
All,
clearing.
all of that would be taken into consideration. It's not,
Well-
they're not going to run or set up or design the pickleball courts to flow towards that ravine and have
Is
the
that a
water run off the
retaining
back of the
wall
bluff.
Along the side there?
Here?
Yeah,
No, that's just fencing, right? Oh, it could be. It's a double line
I think it's a retaining wall.
right here. Yeah.
And
Right.
there'd still have to be clearing to the west of the last tennis court to push the fence back, right?
Yeah, because I think this is your pre-existing
Yeah.
fence
Very
line here.
little, because we have a road there, there's a roadway that goes in there to get to those tennis courts.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
So I think if we, this section here, we need to continue to work with them on, because this is really just the concept layout. We probably have to go back and get another set done. But this, there's a lot going on here because the timing of this Upland project is, it's not happening tomorrow, so, and then this would have to then go out to bid, for installation, grading, everything. But, I just need us to get to the point where we're in agreement that we like this in theory, and then we can keep drilling down on it. I mean, because you see how the detail on this other stuff, right?
So the building is in this corner, right, on the top?
Yep.
Right. And this space is the lower parking lot, or?
This is the upper parking lot,
That's upper. So the pickleball courts are gonna be on the,
the west side.
Where the clearing is now.
it just seems like a weird drawing to me.
So this
Your
used to be
courts are
courts 1 through 4, 1, 2,
Yep,
3, 4.
mhm.
So everything has to be moved back from the edge of the cliff.
Okay, I'm seeing it now. I'm
Yeah.
seeing it now.
And so you come out of the tennis pro shop, here are the stairways going down. You come
Mhm.
out and you can use this pathway that'll go still
Okay,
behind
gotcha.
and access these courts here, or quite frankly, on this side for the tennis courts, that doesn't really matter. But to get to the pickleball, you'll have to come back along the fence line, and then you come in here, you can go sit down, unpack your bags, and you access the courts either, coming in here or using this little pathway in here.
and why
And-
is there nothing, sorry, Lauren, did you have more?
Just one more follow-up. In the slide, I think prior to this one, was the optional wall on the west side.
Yep.
Protecting that area from further erosion.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And why is there nothing between the proposed spectator area and the parking lot?
Because,
That's going to be level with the upper section of that seating area. So you could literally walk from the parking lot onto that top level.
Top level of what, the
Of
spectator
the-
area?
Yes.
Interesting.
So I just don't know why the spectator area isn't closer to the parking lot. I'm not understanding what's...
Closer to the pickleball.
Right, but then the pickleball courts could also squeeze,
I
like...
think
if-
because of the way that you had to use this grading in here, the grading, this was flat, then you had some grading here that they took advantage of to build the stadium, and it kind of then leveled out up here, because otherwise you'd have like kind of longer and more spread out.
Right,
seating.
and it also created a little bit of a buffer between
Yeah.
the seating area and the parking lot from a visual and design perspective, and also to level out the pickleball court fence with the tennis court fence.
I'm just still very nervous about pushing anything further to the west, because again, we're already fighting nature with everything is that's being proposed, and to push into an area where there's already, water already finds its way there, I feel like we're buying another problem by
Well,
not.
not unless we have the proper drainage in place to, to prevent that. I mean,
And this isn't an engineer's drawing, this is.
No, it is, that's an engineered,
yeah, this
Drawing.
is
But
this
this
is
is-
all
but
done
this-
based on the topography here.
this is conceptual.
Yes.
We have to get the drainage piece,
Topography
right.
and-
So, but this is, if you're familiar, if you're playing on court 4, this is all rather flat here. This is not, you can walk in here, as Stan said, there's the maintenance road that comes through here, that they bring the hard true and everything through here. It's really more up in this area. And I could go back to the other map, I just don't want to lose my track of where I am in the presentation.
I just don't know that it's 34 feet worth of flat. There. That's what it looks,
21 feet from the back of the tennis court to the
right,
fence
but the
line.
fence relocation is 34 feet from the
Right, from
existing
this existing fence
to the new
fence.
proposed. I'll
Yep, well,
check it out.
again, we're just, this is a little bit more detail, I think we showed you that. So this is, so if we were to do the upper wall and the tennis courts and the pickleball courts, that would be the plan. The Upland wall documents, Joe, these are ready to go to bid, right?
This is on the east side.
No, look at me. The Upland wall is ready to go to bid.
I'm waiting for GEI to provide an update on the spec sheet and on
Okay.
one of the plans.
So,
But after that, yes, we're
okay.
ready.
So just hold that thought, because that's what we do know. So that's where we are so far. Here's what we don't know. Or here's where we are on a possible retreat plan, right? So if we don't do the upland wall to protect the building and bring in that sleeve of wall back in here through courts 5 and 6, we're gonna have to do drainage in here like immediately. The only reason we're not doing that immediately is because if we're putting in a wall, obviously we don't need to do this upland drainage. Oops, sorry, just trying to disregard that. How do I do that? How do I get out of that? Just click on this. Okay, sorry.
Escape.
So, I'm sorry, this is a drainage system where we had to kind of see where the catch basins were. This is a driveway coming down. There's a lot going on in this driveway. There's a lot of utilities and other grease traps and stuff that's already in here. So we are, this is an existing drain intake right now. And we're then going to install a line with more, with additional drainage catch basins and route it back away from the bluff. This is what that cross section kind of looks like. It's here, and it's by operation of the way it's tilted, catch basin tilting all the way back into a much larger container back away from court 5. So that'll all have to be installed. If one way or the other, that's minimally what has to be done.
And that doesn't have to be done?
If the wall goes in. If the wall goes in, we don't have to do any additional drainage.
Except for by the proposed pickleball tennis courts.
Right, well, if the wall doesn't go in, we have to do this, or if we don't go with the extension to the west, we would have to do something like this behind the new courts. We'll get up, so we'll get more and more numbers. Stan met Eric from EAB Architecture. Joe and Stan went up with him. And this is I just wanted you to see the email, because what I'm going to give you is coming directly from Eric's walkabout. I'm just going to zoom in on his summation. So right now we have a snack area and bar existing. It's approximately 1,150 square feet. Your deck is approximately 660 square feet on the turn. Pro shop's another 1,275. Bag storage, which is in the basement, is below. Currently there's no men's locker room, which, or ladies' locker room, I should say. I apologize, men's. I should say, wow, look at that, no ladies' locker room.
Should be locker rooms.
Locker, right, so 4 lockers for existing, so he needs about 1,500 square feet to put in locker rooms for approximately 540 members.
Are the lockers currently in high use?
No.
I just Yeah.
Not an high use because of the inaccessibility.
Because they're across the street. Gotcha.
Member office, 2 desks, we need a little square footage for a new member office. Small fitness center, another 500 square feet if you want a fitness center. Just trying to duplicate what we have across the street, dining area, which is really important for 120 people, minimally 2,000 square feet. New lobby stairs and elevator, because this has got to be built on top of existing, another 500 square feet. And then he's proposing another 1,500 square feet for a kitchen. So based on his calculations, he's looking at if we were to build onto the existing clubhouse building, approximately another 6,000 square feet for amenity space for members and or residents. So no wall. We'd have to do approximately drainage both on the east and west side. We'd have to demo the current clubhouse. We already got that money from, what was the demo company, Joe?
The name is escaping me.
Yeah, I know. They're on the state list. Panzer. Thank you, Barbara. New clubhouse, approximately 6,000 square feet. He's saying in his email it's $600 a square foot for municipalities. At the school district capital bond meeting, they're talking like $800 a square foot. So we'll go with the 6. That's another 3.6 million. Board of Health, this number does not include Board of Health. We would need new sewer. Board of Health, I'm saying $450 for new sewer across the street. Disruption to your golf course, your facilities, engineering, soft costs. Guys, we're already into the Bluff for probably this number easily. So we're looking, just without sharpening the pencil too hard, we're looking at approximately 5.9, maybe anywhere between 5 and 6. I think that's a fair number. Does anybody have anything they want to comment on that? Because the only thing we have to do then is I recommend putting the upper wall out to bid and getting the hard number on that and knowing what that number looks like. Because even if you are going to do a retreat plan, so these are my recommended next steps. Putting the upper wall out to bid, which could take 6 to 8 weeks for the bid to come back. Continue the coordinated effort with DEC because there's a letter of non-jurisdiction pending for the Upland project because of the proximity of the building to the Bluff line.
On the very first slide, there was a red line that extended into the Bluff. Is that where we think it is, and that's the line of
That's the
non-jurisdiction?
25 foot, yeah.
Okay, got it.
We're beginning the phase 1 restoration. I'll show you what the maps look like for the lower Bluff restoration. Obviously, we announced that the beaches are going to be closed by mid-August for the major construction work. The steel and the rock and everything's, the fencing's going up. We're going to start having materials being delivered. It's an 8-month project, so they're going to either try and get the plantings done, and if weather does not permit, because you're in the middle of January, they'll come back in late spring for the plantings. Upland access is required for the lower wall installation. And if you remember that picture of the bulldozer on the top of the cliff, they're going to try and, because when we put the plans in for the lower wall, that top line, that red line, was much further out. So according to the DEC plans, we're allowed to restore that line. So they're going to come with bulldozers and try and put some more earth there to scale out the upper, which we can also wait and see how that develops. Right, so we don't have to make any hard and fast decisions today, but this is a very complicated, with a lot of moving pieces kind of a project. And then we can continue. I just wanted to review the site maps. This is how the beach is going to be utilized. You're going to have a ton of trucks coming up and down here every day. You're going to have a fenced off area. This is where they're going to have all the materials and store the equipment. So we'll have, we're going to have construction, beach closed, you'll still have pedestrians, of course. Not much I can do about a pedestrian, but cars will not have access. And then, oops, what happened? There wasn't a second slide. I thought there was another slide. There should have been another slide. It'll show you that when they're going to be doing this construction first, taking care of this groin, bolstering up this area, and they're going to be using this a lot to bring the heavy steel and the trucks, but they'll also be coming down here and across the beach when the beach tide allows to gain access to start restoring this area, and they'll start from here and they'll move down. That's where I'm at.
Where would you factor in the loss of revenue from the vendor?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, so we're getting 240 now, and I think it goes up to 300 in 2023.
So with
So
the,
that money comes into the general budget,
right,
and if we don't do the upper wall and in time we lose the vendor, then I have a loss in the general budget of 300,000 that has to be made up somewhere.
would the not doing the wall and building a new club with a restaurant, but obviously not a catering hall,
Right.
would there be a proposal for a new vendor taking at least over the restaurant in that
I would
area?
imagine.
Or that would be up for discussion, or the village would run it?
Oh yeah, that's
I think it would be one of the points to discuss is, do we need a 120 seat venue? Maybe that's something, as they have the golf outings and this and that they, want or need. That did add a lot of square footage to that project. But also, looking at whoever's running that space, being a vendor, paying some kind of fee.
So I'm trying to balance out those dollar amounts. If we
Mhm.
lost 240, could we recover some of it from a vendor in a restaurant, possibly?
What is the
Or not.
history of how much has been paid by the vendors at the building there?
I mean, I know when Lombardi first started paying the village, it was $600,000 a year.
So usually things
And it
go
went
up
down from
over
there.
time.
What's that?
How usually, payments go up over time.
Well, so they rebuilt the entire facility, which is the Portchester Village owned property,
Mhm.
and this was like 3-4 administrations ago, they gave to us basically how many millions of dollars that building was. And so what happened is, instead of paying real money, they were on a sliding schedule for their licensing fees. So they started out, I made a mistake, they started out lower, and then they got to 600, and then the concession was sold, and somebody else had to come back in and renovate the building, and the marketplace, the catering marketplace, wasn't nearly what it was back in 20 years ago, I guess, when it first started. Every time there's been a renegotiation, there's been a market adjustment, and we're stuck with a contract. I'm not saying it's the greatest contract, but when I forget which vendor it was, Brian would know really well, before Crest took over. Well, it was Lombardi. I mean, basically, we were going to get a empty building, and in hindsight, maybe we should have let the building go dark. But you do your best with where you are, and this is where we're at.
In crunching the numbers, it seemed, however much the village would be spending on that upper wall to essentially save that building. I see the costs of building something on the other side. Longevity is another question I have too, of, what is the longevity of the building without the upper wall, with the upper wall? How is that projected?
I think Verusian did try and answer that question, I think, in the one presentation he was with, but we'll revisit the answer.
Yeah.
Because I think at one point he said 50 years, but then I think he clawed back to maybe 35.
Yeah. And looking
and
at.
without the wall, I think we're less than 5.
Right. So looking at the money that we'd be investing across the street into something that would likely be around for, nothing can guarantee, the erosion, but if the lower wall is going in, that slows the erosion significantly. Looking at investing $6 million across the street into something that, could last 75 years, say, it looks like a really big figure now, but if we're investing $2 million, what are we thinking with the upper wall right now?
I don't know, that's why I'd like to get the actual number.
I can tell you that the numbers that Verusian gave us at the presentation were, if we did the lower wall, which we're doing, it gives the building 7 years. If we do the upper wall, it's 35 years.
Up to 35.
Yeah.
I always hate to be gloom and doom, but if I was.
But then also, how far back do they assume the erosion will be before it levels out? Would it reach a new building?
Well, that's.
Or is that then in jeopardy if we were to do a new building?
And the
Let it go.
line and the roadway.
And the
Well, but
parking lot
if
and
the lower wall is supposed to save I don't think the upper wall helps the growing of the roadway. My understanding.
You know,
of erosion.
I was
What
that's
does?
why I asked
I was
the
thinking not
engineer
helping.
today.
How does it not- How would it not help?
The upper wall?
Yeah, it's mitigating the drainage
Well,
from heading down.
if you do drainage instead of the wall, then you're pulling that water back, and the lower wall, to my understanding from watching the presentations and researching this, it's essentially keeping the angle of repose, which, you know, sand can essentially only be at so steep of an angle. And so if you have a wall at the bottom, then you're keeping that, you know, the beach from slipping away, and then now the bottom gets, you know, closer to the building, and then the top has to even out. So if we're stopping that process from happening with the lower wall, then, you know, yes, it will continue, you know, the earth will continue to move a bit, but you're not having the toe of the
Well,
bluff.
I mean, eventually, you know, if there's not enough drainage on the top, and if the building goes away, you're gonna definitely need to have something that's preventing the rest of the, you know, because don't forget, we wanted that toe wall. I put this one back up. Don't forget, we wanted this toe wall to be over here.
Sure.
Not only did DEC require us to cut it back, but then they also, don't forget, required us to decrease the size of this wall, which we then designed it so that it could be expanded on in time, because, you know, the two systems were designed to kind of work together to keep all this sort of intact in here. And this wall, obviously, to prevent, you know, something happening like this around this side. So again, you know, these guys are coastal engineers from around the region, and they designed this, and we have to rely on them. There's no other way to say it.
It seems like preserving the upland long-term, 35 years, gives you an opportunity to evaluate in a more considered and strategic way what you actually want to do with the rest of that campus, rather than just building on a building.
Sure.
It just seems like that's a stopgap measure, because, you know, we're not ready to build a wall.
And I mean, I agree completely that we need a bigger picture, a master plan for, you know, like a 50+ year master plan for that upper campus. I see the 7 years that the lower wall buys as enough time. I know that government moves very slowly, but I would hope that 7 years would be enough time to say.
Well, I just want to, we're not making any decisions tonight.
Sure.
I just want us to, you know, see that it takes a long time to gather information from all these different, we have 5 different engineering companies involved in these right now. It takes a long time for them to get us the documents. You know, I really wish that at the time that we started this project, they had told us we should have been doing this project. You know, because they didn't tell us at the time that we started this project down here that we would need this project up here. And had we known that, we wouldn't be in this position, you know. But as time just erodes away, no pun intended, I can only act based on what we like to see, how the numbers are coming together. And, you know, unfortunately, at this point in time, there is a tad bit of a sense of urgency here. So this probably the next year will be a telling year for the future of that facility. That's all I can say. It's one way or the other. Stan?
A bid cost us nothing.
I want to know. Yeah.
That's another factor that I've got to see.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right.
I've got to see the number for that upper wall. I want to see the number for the extension on the upper wall.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Separate and apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it might be prudent just to kind of say, okay, let's do this. Let's get this in here with less expensive drainage. Don't forget, we won't need this one over here if we do this wing. The wing is a must to save the building. You know, this is sort of, you know, I don't know.
Well, and
You got a lot of time here, folks. You got a lot of time on that.
an RFP would include the plantings and everything?
Yeah, everything.
Soup to nuts, okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
and phase 3 basically essentially is the,
Tennis court one.
yeah.
Well, I would like to, I think what we could do is we can agree that we want to continue to explore getting the tennis court and pickleball campus ramped up so that can also go to bid. But it can't, it can't go in while this wall is going in. So there's, yet another delay on a tennis membership, probably for another year, unless something happens. But, I was gonna say was, yeah, I think the next step is definitely putting this out to bid. It gives us a real number. If we are like, oh my God, we're just like over the top with this. I am planning on meeting with TPG, the vendor, to find out if they have any tolerance to helping pay for the wall to preserve their contract, because, if the building goes away, then they go away, and then we lose revenue. So I'm 300 in the negative anyway. I'm gonna be 300 up or 300 down. Either way, we're making up some money.
I personally feel that that's very important to, we're talking about a special assessment potentially for residents who live near drainage basins that, nobody knew anything about, and that would just be a burden on them, or, if it's taxpayers at large, but, looking to see, who's using this facility, whether it be the vendor, residents, non-residents, and how, specifically they would help, pay a larger proportion of this rather than the residents who have never
that
stepped
the tennis
foot.
membership doesn't go back into the country club, it comes to the village and helps us pay for this. And anything else we can do to help promote any activity will help us, find ways to help pay for this wall. I'm not, I mean that.
Like, get out of the way, Denise, get out of the way.
Make sure he doesn't elbow or something.
Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, the
This is
tennis
Steve
membership
coming
was a flatliner, right, Stan?
There was no profit in tennis
We'll find some.
in the first place. It was about a break even.
We just didn't feel that, what does it cost? What did it cost a resident to play tennis? $300, $400.
500 for the season.
Yeah, pickleball will be very popular. So, I think the next step is for the upper wall to go out to bid with this as an add-on. See where we're at. That's going to take us 2 months. In the meantime, we keep exploring. I was going to say, Lauren has your hospitality group that you're going to be starting working with the vendor. I'll let you know when I meet with Sean. Bring him to the table and TPG and have some serious discussions. But in the meantime, guys, the lower wall project is advancing, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So that's my report.